Hi everyone, Joe Gentili from Left Tail Risk Advisors. In this video, I want to go through an aspect of life insurance that I feel is underappreciated and under-discussed, and that has to do with the creditor protections that are afforded by some states for life insurance policies. I want to preface this video by saying that this is a complex topic and the laws are subject to change. So I strongly encourage you to speak with your financial professional or attorney about your specific situation before taking any action on this topic. This is really an educational video that's for a broad audience. Okay, with that said, there are some states that afford very strong asset protection to life insurance. So some examples of that are the state of New York, Florida, Texas, some of the largest states in the country. Basically, they have insurance laws on the books that say that the as a general rule, the cash value within the life insurance policy and the death benefit are protected from creditors and in some cases from bankruptcy. Very broad protections, no limits on the amount of money within those policies that can be protected. This has limits, of course. You can't use this as a tool to conduct a fraudulent transfer. So if you know that a lawsuit is coming or a lawsuit's already come or you're about to declare bankruptcy, you can't buy a life insurance policy and dump a bunch of money into it. This type of planning, like most types of creditor protection planning, has to be done when the waters are calm. And there's some other limitations, like in New York, um, the beneficiary that you have matters. So you can't have your beneficiary as an estate. That's certainly not the best practice for this. What you would want is to have the beneficiary be specific individuals to give protection to the death benefit. So there are some limitations on this. There are some benefits for life insurance in creditor protection planning or asset protection planning that doesn't exist in other types of asset protection planning or in other tools. So one very well-known place where you could hold money where there's a lot of creditor protection is in retirement accounts. They're great. The issue with retirement accounts is they have limits on the amount of money that you can place in them. So it's useful, but up until a point. There's also some penalties involved if you're accessing money before you're 59 and a half. And then if you look at probably the main tool that most people use if they're actively trying to structure their life for asset protection is the use of trusts. The use of trusts almost invariably involves, if it's used for asset protection, involves a loss of control over the assets in the trust. So different types of trusts and different types of structures will have varying degrees of loss of control of the assets, but the loss of control is essentially what gives the protection. So there's always some degree of loss of control. Life insurance, you don't have that issue. If you have a life insurance policy and the state you're in affords creditor protection, then you're able to hold the asset and control it just the same as anybody else holding a life insurance policy and accessing cash value. So that's a large benefit. I'm not saying that life insurance is better for asset protection than using trusts or using retirement accounts. I'm saying that the tool has some benefits that these others don't, and it deserves a seat at the table in terms of the conversation on planning because it can play a role in planning depending on where you live. So who is this best for? I would say that this is anybody really can use some thought as to how to structure their assets to have creditor protection involved. Anybody could be the subject of a large lawsuit or a catastrophic financial loss that ends in a bankruptcy. So this is something that could benefit anybody. But the people that would most benefit from this are professionals and business owners that are in what would be considered more high risk businesses. So certain types of doctors, certain types of lawyers, certain types of high risk business owners where lawsuits are kind of more part of the business than in others. Those are probably the best candidates for this. And you know, the benefits of life insurance in this scenario, again, depending on the state you live in, can be massive, especially given the fact that You really have very little limitation in terms of how much money you can have in these policies, and you still retain a large degree of control over the cash value in ways that you don't in other structures. So that said, any questions on this topic, please feel free to reach out to discuss. And as always, I encourage you to subscribe for future videos about life insurance and the planning that involves it. So thank you for watching.